A very good morning, dear children. Today we will continue with chapter 16, Hereditary and Variation. In the last class, we learned about monohybrid cross. Today we will be learning about dihybrid cross. But before that, it is very important that you know what is phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. So let us start with that. Phenotypic ratio is the ratio of physical appearance. That is when you're talking about the ratio of a phenotype. That is why it's called phenotypic ratio. And genotypic ratio is the ratio of the genes or the ratio of the genotype. That is why it's called genotypic ratio. I will explain this by taking an example from the previous lecture. You all are very familiar with this now. I hope you all have practiced this also. So this is something which we did in the last class. Whenever you are talking about phenotypic ratio, at that time we are going to concentrate on what are you getting in the Punnett square. Okay, so here this is what we are going to consider. These four boxes are what we are going to consider for phenotypic ratio. When I say phenotypic, you have to tell me what exactly is the physical appearance of what is being circled. Now here what I've circled is capital T, capital T. Correct? So what is the physical appearance of if in case I have a plant which has a genotype of capital T, capital T. We know that because it is capital T, it has a dominant gene of tall. That is why the plant is going to be tall. Okay, so here from the four offsprings or from the four boxes, the first one we are talking about is the one which has tall as a physical appearance. Okay, so first is tall. Second, here what I've circled has both capital T and small t. But because it has a capital T and because it is dominant, the second plant will also be tall. This also has one capital and one small, and because capital it has means that it's got the dominant gene, and that is why it is going to be tall. Okay, so from the four boxes that we just now saw, three have already become what? Three are already tall, and this one square, this is both are small t, which means that it has the recessive gene. It does not have the tall gene, and that is why this is going to be dwarf. Okay, so in the Punnett square, when you're considering, you have to find out which or what is the physical appearance of the products that you have got. Here in the Punnett square, we have got four products. From the four products, how many are showing similar physical appearance? That is what we have to see. So in this square that we've considered, three of them are tall and one is dwarf. So my phenotypic ratio will be 3:1. 3 is for tall and 1 is for dwarf. I hope you have understood now. So when you say phenotypic ratio, you have to see from the Punnett square all that you have got. From that, how many show similar physical appearances and how many show different. So here from four products that I've got, 3 are tall and 1 is dwarf. That is why my ratio is 3:1. I hope this is clear. Now, let's look at genotypic ratio. For genotypic ratio also, you will be doing the same thing. You will be considering the Punnett square. Okay. Now, over here, instead of looking at the physical appearance, you have to look at homozygous, heterozygous. Here, you have three possibilities. You have to check how many you have homozygous dominant, how many you have homozygous recessive, how many you have heterozygous. Okay, so let's look at that. First, capital T, capital T. Both are capital, so it is homozygous dominant. Okay, so we have one homozygous dominant. Now here, you have from the four product that you have got, two of them have one capital and one small, which means that these are heterozygous. So what are the number of heterozygous that you have? You have two heterozygous. Okay? And this one is homozygous recessive because both are small t. And because they are small, you say they are recessive. Okay, so when I'm looking at the genotypic ratio, when I have to find out the genotypic ratio, I have to look at this condition, which are homozygous, which are heterozygous. In homozygous also you will have two: homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, and heterozygous. Okay, so here this is what I get. Homozygous dominant is 1, heterozygous is 2, and homozygous recessive is 1. So my genotypic ratio here is 1:2:1. Okay, now this is simple. Why? Because you're considering a monohybrid cross. That is why it is simple. Today, when you're going to learn about dihybrid cross, the entire process remains the same. Whatever you have solved, how you solve for monohybrid, same thing it is for dihybrid. Only thing is, you are going to consider two physical appearances instead of one. Okay, in the last class, we learnt about the height of the plant. So that was only one, I mean only height of the plant, only that one physical appearance we had seen. But now in dihybrid we will be taking two qualities together, or we will be taking two physical appearances together, and we will find out what are the possibilities, or what are the different products that you can get. Okay, so let's start. When you start, obviously you know now that whenever you start, we start with the phenotype. Okay, so here the two physical appearances which we are going to consider today is shape of the seed and color of the seed. Okay, there are two shapes of the seed. One is round and one is wrinkled, and you have two color of the seed. One is yellow and one is green. Okay, so when you consider shape of the seed, round is dominant and wrinkled is recessive. Similarly, when you're considering color of the seed, yellow is dominant and green is recessive. That is why when you start with the dihybrid cross, you have to write the dominant genes of the physical appearances together and the recessive genes of the physical appearances together. So here we will write round yellow. Now here, round is also dominant shape of the seed. Yellow is dominant color of the seed. So what I've done, I've written both dominant together. Okay, and on the right I've written wrinkled green. Now here wrinkled is the recessive shape of the seed and green is the recessive color of the seed. So I've written recessive together. Okay, now coming to genotype. When I say genotype, as you already know, we are going to write capital letters for dominant and small letters for recessive. So my genotype for round yellow will be capital R, capital R, capital Y, and for wrinkled green is going to be small r, small r, small y, small y. So this is basically going to tell you that it is the dominant form and the recessive form of that particular physical appearance. Okay. Then comes gametes. Now, when we were looking at monohybrid cross, I told you that when two letters are capital, you take any one of it. And when two letters are small, you take any one of it. That is when they are in the homozygous condition. The same thing you have to do here. If you look at round, okay, the genotype has two capital R. So you'll take any one of it. And similarly for yellow, you have two capital Y. So again, you will take one of it. That is why here the gametes will be capital R, capital Y. Because they are the same, I took only one of that. Same thing you have to follow for wrinkled and green. You will take small r and small y. Okay. Now what do? Now you cross these together. When you cross them together, the first generation will be heterozygous. That is, the plant of the first generation has the dominant as well as a recessive gene for both shape of the seed and color of the seed. Okay, so if you say C for round, it has got dominant gene and recessive gene. That is why capital R as well as small r. Similarly, it has got recessive as well as dominant for color of the seed. That is why capital Y as well as small y it has got. Even though it is a heterozygous condition where it has got dominant as well as recessive, the phenotype is going to be round yellow. Why round yellow? Because the dominant genes are going to get expressed. So here, because it has got dominant gene, that dominant gene will get expressed even though in the genotype recessive genes are present still. Okay, I hope this is clear. So when you are taking a dihybrid cross, normally the first generation is going to have the gene of both dominant as well as recessive, but the phenotype will be of the dominant. Okay, so here the first generation plant has got the qualities or the physical appearance of the dominant parent, that is round yellow. Okay, now we will see the next part where you're going to take this forward. This was very much similar to monohybrid, and this was simple. Why? Because you considered homozygous parents. Now let's see what will happen when you're considering heterozygous parents. So here my phenotype is going to be again round yellow, but genotype is going to be, I told you, heterozygous. That means this is what we are going to consider. In this condition, what we will do, when you have two heterozygous conditions or two heterozygous parents coming together, what will the offspring be? Okay, that is what we are going to consider. Here you have to be very, very careful. When we considered the monohybrid cross and we were considering the gametes of heterozygous parents, capital T, small t, when it came, we took both capital T, small t, correct? But here, when you are considering gametes of dihybrid cross, you have to be careful. Why? Because you have to not take all the letters. You are talking about possibilities. What are the possibilities? What are the possibilities in the gametes? Either both will be dominant or both will be recessive. Okay, otherwise the first will be dominant, second will be recessive, or the fourth is where the first will be recessive, second will be dominant. There are four possibilities. I'll repeat that again. What are the four possibilities? Both the physical characters will be dominant. That's the first possibility. Second possibility is both the physical appearance will be recessive. Third possibility is one will be dominant, the first one will be dominant, the second one will be recessive. Or the fourth possibility is the first will be recessive and the second will be dominant. Let's look at that. This is what I just now told. If you look at the first possibility, both the physical appearance is dominant, that is why I've written capital R, capital Y. The second possibility is the first is dominant, second is recessive. That is why capital R, small y. What is the third possibility? The first is recessive, second is dominant. That is why small r, capital Y. And the fourth is both are recessive. That is why both are small. Okay. I'll repeat this again. When you're talking about gametes of dihybrid cross, you are supposed to find out the possibilities. That is, what are the possible conditions? Either both will be dominant or both will be recessive. Otherwise, first will be dominant, second will be recessive, or first will be recessive, second will be dominant. That you have to express it in the form of letters, and that is what we have done. Same thing you will do it for the second one also. So these are the gametes which we have got. Now coming to the most crucial part of this dihybrid cross, and that is the Punnett square. These gametes which you have got, that you have to put and that you have to solve. So what am I going to do? The gametes which I've got of the male and the female, I'm going to put it in the boxes as you did it for the monohybrid cross. So what I have done, all the 4 gametes that I've got, I've put it in the 4 rows and the 4 columns of the male gamete and the female gamete. Now similarly, how you did it for the monohybrid cross, same thing you have to repeat for the dihybrid cross also. So here I'm going to start with the male gamete. So my male gamete is capital R, capital R and capital Y. That's my first male gamete. I will cross it with the first female gamete. So here I get the product capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. Now as I told you in monohybrid cross, the sequence does not matter. You can write capital R, capital Y, capital R, capital Y, or you can write Y first and R later, or you can write R first and Y later. Anyhow, the sequence does not matter. It is just about, you have to be very careful how many capitals and how many small letters you have. That is what you have to pay attention at. Okay, so here I have capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. This is what I have got. Same thing I'm going to do, the first male gamete will remain constant here. I'm going to cross my first male with the second female. Okay, so here what is my product going to be? Capital R, capital R, capital Y, small y. Same thing repeat with the third one. Capital R, small r, capital Y, and again repeat it with this fourth one, that is capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. I hope this is clear. Same thing you do it with this next one also. Start with the second male gamete and the first female gamete. So here you have capital R, capital R, capital Y, small y. Second, capital R, small y, small y. Third, capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. And then you have capital R, small y, small y. Okay, I hope this is clear. This is same like your monohybrid cross. There's no difference in this. Okay, same thing you repeat with the third one as well as the fourth one. So this is how you get in total. That means when I'm talking about a dihybrid cross, I will have in the Punnett square a total of 16 boxes. In the monohybrid cross, we had 4 boxes to consider for phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. But when you're talking about a dihybrid cross, your Punnett square in total will give you 16 possibilities. And based on that 16 possibilities, you have to find out the phenotypic ratio as well as the genotypic ratio. Okay, so this is how your entire dihybrid cross gets completed. The process remains the same. The only thing where it starts varying is when you have to consider about gametes. From gametes onwards, it starts getting different. Otherwise, it is the same. Okay, now let us consider phenotypic ratio. Now we need to find out phenotypic ratio. Okay, so when you look at phenotypic ratio, as I told you, phenotypic ratio is where you talk about the physical appearances. Which are the 4 physical appearances that you have? The 4 physical appearances are written on top. Round yellow, round green, wrinkled yellow, wrinkled green. This is the 4 physical appearances that you can have. Now, when do you say that any plant is going to have the characteristic of round yellow? Both are dominant. So, if in case in the genotype or in the letters, wherever you find a capital R and a capital Y, you can say that that plant is going to be round yellow. I repeat, round yellow, both are dominant. So anywhere in the 16 boxes, if you find that any one box has a capital R or a capital Y, you can say that the plant is going to be round yellow. Let's just look at that. If you look at the first one that I have circled, it has got capital R as well as capital Y, so it's going to be round yellow. Correct? Second one, here also it has got a capital R, a capital Y. Now here, even though it has got a small y, Because the capitals are dominant, you will consider that to be round yellow. Okay, so this also will be considered under round yellow. Third one, here also I have got one capital R and two capital Y. Okay, even though it has got the small r, because it is recessive, the dominant character will get expressed. So this also will be round yellow only. Okay, similarly, the next one, here also it has got capital R, capital Y. Next again, capital R, capital Y, capital R, capital. Now, why did I leave the second box there? Because even though it has got capital R, it has not got capital Y. I am looking at those boxes which have got both capital R as well as capital Y. That is why I've left that box, because it is going to be round, agreed, but it is not going to be yellow because yellow gene is not there in it. Okay, so wherever you have capital R and capital Y, only those places you have to circle. That is why I've left that. Okay, next, here also capital R, capital Y, capital R, capital Y, capital R, capital Y. So these are from the total 16 boxes. I have how many which are round yellow? Let's count them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have a total of 9 plants which will show me round yellow. Okay, now going to the next one. Here the next possibility or the next physical appearance is round green. Now when will I say it is round and green? When round means the box which has a capital R but has small y. Small y represents green. Okay, so any box where I have a capital R but small y will be round green. So let's look at that. This is a first box where I have capital R, means it's going to be round, but it has small y, means it's going to be green. So I have one out of the boxes. This also will be round green because it has capital R but small y. This also will be round green because it has capital R and small y. So if I go to count it, I have a total of 3 which are round green. So round green I will write as 3. Similarly, you have to look for wrinkled yellow. Now when do you say it is wrinkled yellow? Now from this, wrinkled is recessive, means that it's going to be small r. Yellow is dominant, means it's got to be capital Y. So wrinkled is recessive, yellow is dominant. So I'm going to look at small r but capital Y. Okay, so let's look at this. It's going to be the first one here. This has small r and capital Y, means wrinkled yellow. Again this small r but capital Y, wrinkled yellow. Again this small r and capital Y means wrinkled yellow. So again a total of 3 I have got. So I will write 3 in front of wrinkled yellow. Okay, and the last one which we are left with is wrinkled green, where everything is recessive. That means I'm going to look at anything which is small r and small y. I have only one from that, and that I'm going to be writing in the box. So I have a ratio of 9, 3, 3, 1. So my phenotypic ratio is 9:3:3:1. Understood? Where I considered their appearance. I was checking how many I'm getting round, how many I'm getting yellow, how many I'm getting wrinkled, and how many I'm getting green. Okay, so phenotypic ratio for a dihybrid cross is 9:3:3:1. Alright, now let's go forward to find out genotypic ratio. Now this is going to be a little tiring because you have to pay attention to those letters which you have. Okay, so let's look at the first. Now as I told you in the as I was explaining the genotypic ratio, I gave an example of tall, capital T, capital T, capital T, small t, small t, small t. So when I was explaining that, that time it seemed to be very simple, but here it's going to be a little difficult. So you have to pay complete attention on what I'm going to be telling. All right. Let's start with the first one. Capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. Now you have to go through these 16 boxes in front and find out which is that box which has capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. So I have the first one here. So that's the only one I have. Alright. So I'm going to be writing 1 because that's the only box which has capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. Alright. Let's look at the next one. Capital R, capital R, capital Y, small y. So here I need to search for it. So I have capital R, capital R, capital Y, small y, capital R, capital R, capital Y, small y. So a total of 2. So I write 2. Next, capital R, small y, small y. So that's only 1 here. So I'll write 1. I hope you all are understanding. Next, capital R, small r, capital Y, capital Y. So here I have 1, 2. So I have 2. Next, capital R, capital Y, small y. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a total of 4. I will write 4. Then you have capital R, small y, small y. So I have 1 and 2. So I will write 2. Then small r, capital Y. I have 1 here. So I will write 1. Then you have small r, capital Y, small y. You have 2. So you write 2. And you have the last one, small r, small y, which is again 1. So when you are looking or when you are considering about genotypic ratios, you have to literally go letter wise to find out the ratio. That is what we have done. We have gone literally letter wise to find out how many similar ones we have got. So based on this, when I actually have to write the genotypic ratio, my genotypic ratio will be 1:2:1:2:4:2:1:2:1. 1:1:4, 2:1:1. This is my genotypic ratio. Okay. See, I understand that this is a little difficult to understand because it's your first time. You may find it difficult. That is completely normal. Okay. But when you find something difficult, it is obviously important that you try more examples so that whatever is difficult starts becoming easy. Okay. So when you're solving similar examples, you will be able to understand this dihybrid cross properly. Okay. So dihybrid cross, when you practice it more, you get used to it. And dihybrid cross is where I have phenotypic ratio to be 9:3:3:1 and genotypic ratio is 1:1:4, 2:1:1. So whenever you are practicing the dihybrid cross, after you solve, just check if you're getting this phenotypic ratio exactly as this one and the genotypic ratio is similar to what is shown on the screen. If you're getting phenotypic and genotypic ratio like this, means that your dihybrid cross is correct. That is one method of checking whether your dihybrid cross is correct or no. Okay, so let us all solve examples for practice. So what you have to do now is you have to take your book, rough book you can take, and start solving these two questions that I've given of dihybrid cross. Just now we solved for shape and color of the seed. Similarly, start practicing for the first one, color and position of flower and color and shape of the pod. And just check after solving if in case you're getting the phenotypic and the genotypic ratios correct. Okay, if you don't get it, it is fine for the first time. If you're not getting the ratios, you can practice. Obviously, as you're practicing, this thing will seem to be simple. Okay, I hope what was done today was clear. Alright, thank you.